The wind whistled through the dark alley as I walked towards the quaint little cafe, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. I was about to meet someone I'd been chatting with on Tinder for a few weeks now, and the anticipation had built up to a crescendo. His profile exuded charm, his messages were witty, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. The cafe was dimly lit, casting eerie shadows on the antique furniture and faded wallpaper. I spotted him sitting at a corner table, his face partially obscured by the flickering candlelight. A shiver ran down my spine as I approached, realizing that his pictures hadn't done justice to his intense gaze. His name was Alex, and his presence carried an air of mystery that both intrigued and unsettled me. "Hey, you must be Lily," he said with a half-smile, gesturing for me to take a seat. His voice was deep and smooth, but there was something about it that made me uneasy. We began chatting, exchanging stories and laughter, yet an odd sensation nagged at me. His eyes seemed to bore into my soul, and his questions grew oddly personal. He asked about my fears, my dreams, my darkest moments. With each revelation, a chill crept up my spine as though he was peeling away my layers one by one. As the evening wore on, he suggested we leave the cafe and explore an abandoned mansion he claimed was nearby. "It's rumored to be haunted," he said with a glint in his eye. Part of me was apprehensive, but his charm was hard to resist, and I found myself agreeing. The mansion loomed ahead, its grandeur obscured by the passage of time. The moonlight cast an eerie glow on its weathered facade, and the creaking of its aged timbers echoed in the silence. Goosebumps prickled on my skin as we stepped inside, the air heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. Alex led me through dimly lit corridors, his footsteps echoing in sync with the racing of my heart. The rooms were filled with antique furniture covered in dusty sheets, and cobwebs hung like eerie decorations. He regaled me with stories of tragic events that had occurred within these walls, stories that made my spine tingle. We entered a room with a grand mirror, its surface tarnished with age. I caught a glimpse of myself, and for a split second my reflection seemed distorted, as though a veil of darkness clouded it. I blinked and it was gone. I chalked it up to my imagination playing tricks on me. As we continued exploring, unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Alex's behavior had grown increasingly erratic, his laughter bordering on maniacal at times. The stories he told became more sinister, and I began to wonder if this was all some elaborate ruse to frighten me. In one room, he pointed to a painting on the wall. "That's Isabella," he said with a twisted smile. "Legend has it that she died under mysterious circumstances, and her spirit still haunts this place." The painting depicted a young woman with piercing eyes, her expression a mix of sorrow and rage. I glanced at the painting, feeling a strange connection to the figure within it. A gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candlelight and plunging us into darkness. Panic clawed at my throat as I fumbled for my phone, desperate to find some source of light. When the soft glow finally illuminated the room, I let out a shaky breath. Alex was nowhere to be seen. "Alex?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no response, only an eerie silence that seemed to swallow my words. I stumbled back through the mansion, my heart pounding like a drum. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking horror, and I could swear I heard faint whispers echoing in the air. My mind raced with thoughts of escape, of finding my way out of this nightmare. I burst out of the mansion, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an otherworldly light on the desolate grounds. I glanced back at the mansion, half expecting to see Alex staring back at me from one of the windows. But the windows remained dark, and the mansion stood silent. As I walked away from that haunting place, a chill lingered in my bones. What had I stumbled into? Was Alex merely a figment of my imagination, a manifestation of the mansion's malevolent energy? Or had I narrowly escaped a truly sinister fate? To this day, I can't shake off the feeling that I came dangerously close to becoming a part of the mansion's haunted history. The memory of that Tinder date gone horribly wrong still sends shivers down my spine. A chilling reminder that not everything is as it seems in the world of online connections. And as for Alex, whether he was a ghostly apparition or something more sinister, I may never know. But I can't help but wonder if he still lingers within those walls, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim to cross his path. It was a moonless night, the road stretching out before me like a dark ribbon weaving through the silent countryside. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I navigated the winding path, the only sound the hum of the engine and the distant howling of the wind. Loneliness had settled in, the kind that only a long drive can conjure. As I rounded a bend, I saw a figure standing on the shoulder of the road. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't expecting to see anyone out here at this hour. It was a woman, her clothes tattered and her hair a wild mess. She held out her thumb, the universal sign for a hitchhiker. My initial instinct was to keep driving. Picking up strangers on a deserted road in the dead of night wasn't the smartest move, but something about her presence was unnerving, a mixture of vulnerability and desperation that tugged at my conscience. I slowed down, my eyes fixed on her as I approached. "Need a lift?" I called out, my voice shaky. She nodded, a grateful smile spreading across her lips. I hit the brakes and the car came to a stop just a few feet away from her. As she stepped closer, I could see the weariness etched into her features, the shadows under her eyes hinting at a story of hardship. I unlocked the door and she slid into the passenger seat. The moment she settled in, a chill crept through the air, prickling the hairs on the back of my neck. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about her, something that sent a shiver down my spine. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice soft and haunting. I forced a smile, trying to push away the unease. "No problem, where are you headed?" She turned to look out the window, her gaze distant. "Just keep driving. I'll let you know when to stop." The road stretched on, the darkness seeming to deepen around us. I stole glances at her from the corner of my eye, the silence in the car growing heavy. It was as if a cloud of tension hung between us, thickening with every passing mile. As time went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that her presence was draining my energy. I felt a heaviness in my limbs, my eyelids growing droopy. I blinked, trying to fight off the sudden fatigue that had enveloped me. I glanced at the woman, and my heart froze. Her reflection in the window was distorted, her features twisted into a grotesque mask of despair. I blinked again, and her reflection returned to normal. My pulse quickened, my mind racing with fear. I must be imagining things, exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. "You okay?" she asked, her voice a whisper. I nodded, my throat dry. "Yeah, just tired." Her lips curved into a sad smile. "Don't worry, we'll get there soon." But the landscape outside seemed to stretch endlessly, the same trees and shadows repeating in an eerie loop. Panic gripped me as I realized that we were going in circles. My heart pounded in my chest, my breaths coming in short gasps. Something was very wrong. "I need to stop," I said abruptly, my voice trembling. The woman turned to me, her eyes glinting with something that sent a jolt of terror through me. "Keep driving. You promised." I slammed on the brakes, the car screeching to a halt. The woman's form flickered, her features distorting once again. In the dim light of the car, her skin seemed translucent, her eyes empty voids. I opened the door and stumbled out, my legs shaky as I backed away. "What are you?" I whispered, my voice quivering. The woman's form shimmered, her body fading into the darkness. "I was a traveler like you, lost in the night, and now I need company, just like you." I turned and ran, my heart pounding as I sprinted down the road. Behind me I could hear a chilling laughter, a sound that seemed to echo from all directions. My breath burned in my chest, and I dared not look back. The road ahead seemed to stretch into infinity, the landscape warping and shifting. And then, as if emerging from a nightmare, I saw the distant glow of lights. A gas station, a haven of civilization. I stumbled into the station, gasping for breath, my body drenched in sweat. The attendant behind the counter gave me a concerned look. "Are you all right, sir?" I nodded, unable to form coherent words. I turned to the window, my heart sinking as I saw the empty road outside. The woman was gone, her presence fading into the night like a twisted dream. I never saw her again, but the memory of that night haunted me. The vanishing hitchhiker, a ghostly presence that preys on the lost and weary, still sends shivers down my spine. And whenever I'm on a long, dark road, I can't help but glance at the side of the road, wondering if she'll appear again, waiting to lure another unsuspecting traveler into her endless, chilling embrace.